You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Michael, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm the illustrious Michael K. Easton.
I am Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
Seth.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. We are in the midst of voting for local publication. Clutch MOV is doing their Best of the Mid-Ohio Valley, of which we are located. And we are nominated for Best Podcast, Best Local Podcast. There's about, a dozen or so on the ballot?
Supposedly.
A couple of them we like.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of,
then there's the Ogres.
Yes. I saw one Remington of the Ogres just the other day. Stopped in at his work, take care of some business, and I mentioned that to him. I was like, man, it must be nice to get nominated for Best Podcast when you only put out 5 episodes a year.
Wow.
Oh,
The shade.
fired.
Wow. Go into his place of business.
Hey, I will say this. I haven't listened to all of them. I don't know the quality that's out there, but I guarantee we beat all of them in quantity.
Oh,
Guaranteed.
we are a quantity over quality.
Nobody
operation.
put more episodes out than us.
Yes.
This past
Talking
year
about
on
being
that
in the
list.
midst
Oh.
of episodes. That's us.
But, yeah.
But it seems there's a couple like sports-centric podcasts.
Okay.
There's a
Did you
couple
like that?
There's a couple nerd-centric like us,
Yeah.
Dueling Ogres, the Deep Culture podcast, our friends from Comics and Kicks in St. Mary's, they're up there. And then there's some other like podcasts that like they're trying to do good in the world. There's one about like positive mental health. There's some about like local history and tourism,
Yeah.
like that sort of thing. So
Who
I don't
listens
know
to
who
that?
It's whatever you like, man.
I don't know who needs that, but
But no, I did congratulate Remington. In all honesty, they are he has finished up his schooling and has more time, and they seem to be back on a regular schedule again, putting out episodes. So it's nice to hear that they're putting out content more consistently now. So
that sounds good. So yeah, if you just discovered us through this, welcome. This episode is kind of more of our baseline. We're going to talk some TV, the kind of stuff we've been enjoying. We're going to give you some reviews, some recommendations, and probably tease Michael a little bit before it's all done, and then we'll get out of here. So that's pretty much how we roll. So where are we starting? Probably on the CW, I would guess. We're all comic book fans. We just had a show debut, Superman and Lois.
Our dad told us all these stories about growing up here.
Tell you it sucks?
Actually, I think he kind of loved it.
We came here as a family.
Like it's too dangerous for them to know.
It's more dangerous if they don't.
You're Superman? No, we've seen Superman before. We've seen him.
You told the boys you're Superman. Couldn't lie to them anymore. This is gonna keep my family together. Clark, it's gonna tear it apart.
All the times you were gone, you lied to me. You both did.
I can't just abandon the world.
The world will always need Superman. Right now, this family needs you more.
just made Michael's year. This pilot episode.
I didn't even know the show existed.
I had nerdgasm after nerdgasm.
Like,
after
how long
nerdgasm.
have we known about this show?
Forever.
They have popped up on other series, Supergirl,
Well, yeah.
like the crossover. So these the actors.
I thought
were,
he was just the Supergirl Superman.
Yeah. So
Well,
Mexican minion. Wasn't that what they
think
called him?
I think it came out of the news of them canceling Supergirl and starting this.
But I think what happened with the CW Arrowverse shows is once we had a Superman in that universe, everybody was like, oh, why don't we have Superman? We need more Superman. And so they naturally started looking into, can this be a show? Will the actors do it? How would we do it? What point would we pick it up in his story, in his life? And that's how we got this. So
I gotta admit, it's novel. It's something we haven't seen before, and it's not an origin story. It's not how they met. It's not newlywed. It's not dating. It's like they're an established couple. They've been around. They've been married for a while, and now here's a whole different era we've never really explored on the TV or movie side of things.
I have not seen it. I just saw the preview, like what's behind Cliff there, picture, and saw that little thing, and he's like a very happy guy, very happy Superman.
Yeah, for the most part. Michael, what?
There.
You're the Superman guy, so this is Superman with kids.
Kids?
Yes.
Twins, which that's what they did with the Crisis on the CW. Is when he was first mentioned, it sounded like he had a kid, and then when everything got merged together, like he's on the phone with her, and she's talking about twin boys, and he's like, twins, and we get the illusion that they're really small, or I mean, at least that's what I thought. But we open up with this, and they pretty much give us a quick recap of Superman, what he is, and that opening scene of him showing his costume the first time, like that in the background on Cliff's, and they used like the green PT Cruiser is the closest thing to the vehicle on the cover of the first Action Comics of Superman. Like that was my jam. That was so good. And then them showing, like, in a million years, I never thought they would show the original Superman.
I think originally
costume.
it was a 54 Crestline.
Is that what it was?
It was Riverdale again. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I don't know, but
that's a Riverdale reference. But no,
sorry, that's all I got. I didn't see this show, but I do want to comment on the twin sons of Tatooine.
Ooh. But it was so good, and them showing that, I mean that's more like the Flesher cartoon version of the Superman costume of what they made, and it was just great when he looks down at the kid and he's like, thanks, my mom made it, when he's like talking about the cool costume.
Is that an original line, or have I heard that before, or is that original?
Superman
movie. Is that from
in the original?
Okay.
Well, even in the original comic book, the backstory was that she made his costume out of the blanket that he was set in, and it shows, like, I remember reading it where like
Christopher Reeve did that line in the original.
Yes.
Okay, because it sounded familiar. It's such a good line that it did sound familiar though.
It does feel like they basically tapped right into the Christopher Reeves movies, and just basically a modern continuation that Brandon Routh's version failed with.
Well, that's what after that first 10 minutes, I texted you. I must have been the first one to watch it, because we are inundated with Zack Snyder stuff, and we're the Snyder Cut's coming out, and we're doing a sequel to this. We're doing it. And it's like, that's the Superman we've been hit over the head with for the last several years. I said, and the first 10 minutes of this was so 180 degrees different from the Zack Snyder version.
In a good way.
And for the better.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was that warmth, that idea of hope and humor, and like he's doing it because he loves humanity, and he wants to help people, and he doesn't have a chip on his shoulder, and it's not dark and violent and angry. Like, it just seemed, it got off on the right foot, especially, and it condensed the origin down. It didn't rehash a bunch of stuff, and it got some cool action scenes. Like, he stops a nuclear meltdown with heat vision, awesome. and giant block of ice. And it was the stakes were huge, and the effects looked good. The costume looks good. Like, so in that first 10 minutes, we got just a little micro movie almost of
Mhm.
of the whole story.
The whole
and
history
then we
of
move on to
Superman.
the family stuff. So
Mhm.
it nailed it right out of the gate for me.
Yeah, it really
And
sinks
that-
its hooks into you in that first 10-minute montage, just giving you just what we need, just all you need to know. We don't have to rehash it all, but it explains everything we need to going into this thus far.
And that straight out of like freezing the water and carrying that glacier. I mean, that's right out of one of the Superman movies. I forget which one it is, but he does that also. I think it's maybe Superman
2. Oh,
2? Does he do it in 2?
oh, I don't know, but wasn't that the one that there was the whole thing about? It's been forever. I'm not gonna guess. It was about having kids, or weren't they gonna, or did they have kids, or were gonna have kids, and that was a subject that came up. Like, could she?
Yeah,
how do they do it? Did
He had
they
to
cover
go in
how
the-
they do
He
it?
had to go
Yes.
in the booth and get rid of his powers first.
No.
Ah,
In the comic book, he used gold kryptonite to impregnate her. So she could carry
I'm
the.
glad I
children.
asked. By the way,
And-
you guys had multiple answers.
In this CW universe, it's already been covered that she gets pregnant. He takes her off planet in his rocket ship while she's pregnant to a different planet.
Different gravity pull.
What? No. So he takes her to a planet that has a red sun. So when the babies are born, they don't have powers that would injure her.
Right, he's not all amped up.
And then they
Well, he's like,
yes,
well,
and then they come
little bit.
back after the babies are born, and until we find out in this show, they don't have any powers apparently up until at this point. So that
They don't
Sounds
even
like
know
you're
their
lying to
dad.
me.
They don't know their dad is Superman.
yes, they have not been told he is Superman. It's all a big secret between him and Lois and apparently her father, the general, of that he's Superman. So, and then what happens?
Father's the general.
Lois
Yeah,
is
Sam Lane.
Yeah,
They get great car insurance
That's what I was.
because he's busting up cars all the time. He's like knocking.
But that's what I was thinking. This is going to work out great because I bet he smashes a lot of crest lines.
I will say there's one thing this show did that it seems every incarnation film and TV has to do is kill Ma and Pa Kent. And I never get that. I don't know why that is a comic thing. To become a comic book superhero, some parental figure has to die and you become, but Superman, his tragedy is Krypton. Like, you don't have to spur him to action by killing Ma or Pa. But this show just did, and like, to me, those are great characters you can use for other stuff. They don't have to die just to, Superman wouldn't be a great hero unless his mom or dad died. Like, he doesn't need that.
yeah.
And it wastes the possibility to have those characters around and add something to the show.
Even going into like the Smallville, CW's previous long-running Superman show, Smallville, for most of those seasons, he had parents growing up. Even as a teenager, even in high school, even through that, he had both parents to, to teach him morals, to set him on the right path, to make him who he was. And it was
But
I always enjoyed that.
You could go along the lines that they did kind of follow that because it's like in the Smallville, his dad had a heart attack and died.
Eventually. Mm-hmm.
And they did the same thing in this one, except for he looked exactly like Christopher Reeve's version at that teenage age. I mean, I think they were trying to do both at the same time. And
They
then,
can
of course,
do flashbacks. If they want to use his characters, they'll do flashbacks.
Yeah. But it also did, it created it moved the story along in this case because when Martha Kent dies, it gives us a reason to bring the teenage sons back to the Kent farm, and for the story to take place back in Smallville for the most part. So that's what's going to happen. Is she dies. They come back for the funeral, and of course we meet Lana Lang and her
She's a little
family.
spicy.
Yeah, she was. And her husband was terrible.
I feel like for her husband's character, they said, okay, do you know who Timothy Oliphant is? Act exactly like him, because that was the vibes I was totally getting if I said his name correctly. Nope, close enough, maybe.
Whatever.
It was totally justified.
I had a customer say, do you think, what if Lana's kid is Clark's too? That like he knocked up Lana before he left Smallville. I'm like, I don't think you can do a deadbeat dad Superman story and make it make sense. But other people are out there using their imagination and try to add drama to this.
I was paying very close attention to the colors the kids were wearing, because in Smallville he always had red on or some version until he became the Blur. And I noticed that. See, which one was it? Jordan, which was weird because Jordan had night terrors, and my Jordan, when he was a little kid, he had night terrors. But Jordan at one point was wearing a red sweater that was similar to Smallville.
Yeah.
And if you notice, Jonathan was wearing a lot of green through that episode. So I was like, green is usually natural, the villain color, and so. But the whole time they're playing it the opposite. That Jonathan is the cool one. He's the all-star football player,
right. So yeah, we're introduced to these two sons pretty early on. One is very classic Americana looking, very, like Michael said, he's the star quarterback. He looks very athletic, like you would expect.
One's an Archie and one's a Jughead.
Exactly. That's the Archie.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
understand. Speaking my language.
And Jughead has, he has a long curly hair. He obviously has some sort of anxiety problem. He's seeing a therapist. And
eating disorder.
Right.
Very withdrawn.
Very withdrawn. He plays video games, listens to loud music. The other guy's on a video chat with his girlfriend, his brother. So complete opposites, right? They're the odd couple. And then we're led to, it hints at, what if Jonathan, the reason he's so athletic and good at sports is maybe he has a little bit of Superman powers. That's why he can throw.
Yeah, because they show a flashback where he's a little kid and he's throwing a football and he hits the rope and he basically bursts the rope or whatever when he's trying to throw it through the tire. So that gives you your first inclination that maybe he is the one with powers.
Maybe.
Sounds
like for sure. He's bursted ropes.
So yeah. So then, so they come back for the funeral. We meet Lana's kid, who the one twin obviously has a immediate crush on because that one summer they met her years ago and hung out, he's still holding on to that apparently. And then we find out through Lana that Martha took out a reverse mortgage on the farm and
should have gone to the general.
Should have. In order to help the people of the town, she was giving them money, saving their farms with that money. Whatever anybody needed, they came to Martha Kent. She had basically became the savior of the town. So she dies. They find out about the reverse mortgage, and they have to make a decision. Superman and Lois have to make a decision of, do we take the payoff from the reverse mortgage and, it's sold, the bank owns the farm, or do we take over and pay the difference on the mortgage? And conveniently, Clark gets fired from the Daily Planet, so he doesn't have a job, and so that prompts them. Go ahead.
The Daily Planet is owned by Morgan Edge, which is a long time DC villain, in multiple different versions. But I think that even goes back to like the 70s version of him buying the Daily Planet and like downsizing it constantly.
So I assume by the end you find out that the other kid's the one whizzing the football for his brother.
It gets a little Brightburn by the end. Like the kid's a little scary when he learns he has powers that he.
Did anybody ever watch that? Is that any good?
No, I have no idea.
But yeah, what happens is at the funeral they go into the barn, and for some reason Dad is always saying you're not allowed to go in the barn. There's a lot of scary stuff in there. So they go in there to fix the router that happens to be up high in the loft, and Jordan's the one that goes up there and fixes it, and he slips on a bunch of like steel pipes that are up there, and as he falls down on the ground, the steel pipes are coming down, and that's when Jonathan jumps in the way. So you think that later on when they come out of it and they just barely have scratches, you're led to believe again that Jonathan was the one that saved them, and Lois and Clark both think that's what's going on. So but yeah, so after that happens, Jordan gets very suspicious of what's going on, and they start rooting around in the barn, and they find Kal-El's spaceship that he came to Earth in. And that's when they kind of flip out on their parents. And I will tell you, like, Jordan's acting ability in this scene, whatever the character's or the actor's name is, was great. Like, I mean, that was total, like, a teen angst moment of them basically saying against their parental figure that you're worthless and you don't care about me. And I mean, that was a really good scene.
Yeah, it's an odd thing, especially for a CW show, to focus on, older parents. It's not hotshot young heroes. It's a different era of this, but I definitely like the setting. Looking at Smallville of today, what would Smallville look like with the economy the way it is? Small towns across America are dying and drying up. And that idea of like these places need hope. They need someone like Superman, and the anxiety people in small towns and all across America are facing. So like, that's cheesy, but like he's the hero we need right now. Mm-hmm. Smallville is the place he needs to be. So that's like, I don't know. This show might be the same as all the other CW shows, but for this pilot episode, like it was just so strong in its theme and its message and the brightness and the hope and the stuff I like in superheroes that right. A lot of times Hollywood tries to draw out of and make them dark and gritty. So I liked the warm family. There were some squabbles, but you could tell they all loved each other. Like the drama is going to be elsewhere. It's not, this core family are very loving and kind and hopeful. It's like it's what pop culture needs at the moment, and if I may say so.
Yeah, I'd seen some criticism online about the show. I can't say I agree with it, but the criticism I saw most commonly was people. There's a scene where it's basically Clark chooses taking care of his family full time rather than taking care of everybody else. He chooses his family over, everybody else in the world, which he really doesn't. He's still going to be Superman. He's still going to do Superman stuff. But there was some criticism about that, just the premise of the show. And I totally disagreed. Like, I thought it was interesting that Superman and Lois have kids, that they're not terrible. They just seemed, like kids. And I kind of want to see where it goes. See if they can keep it going, see if they can improve and get some good storylines out of it, take some stuff, hopefully out of the comics, instead of going down that dark and gritty stuff that we have everywhere in DC. So,
and seeing Superman battle with that of, am I being a bad father because I'm Superman? I'm always gone, and I mean that's something that's brought up time and time again that. He's never around, and he's saving the world, but mm-hmm. He's not being a good dad, and he's constantly questioning that.
And in all of this, there's a bad guy. there's a guy that is in a space suit we see, and he's causing this damage to these nuclear power plant, these nuclear facilities. Superman has to keep rushing in and saving. So it's being told to us that he's doing it to study Superman, to see, how he reacts, what his move is here, how, what all he can do. And then they have a fight, and the guy's like, Superman kind of, he uses super speed, and he's like, thought you'd be faster. He's a match for him. He makes him chase him all over the city, and Superman can't catch him. He eventually, he's got a piece of kryptonite and stabs Superman with it, and he falls to the ground almost, to his end. But of course, he's Superman.
But can we talk about those scenes of him up in space? Like, that looked so good to me, of him floating up there, and like just the little nuances of him kind of like listening or trying to see, like that. It just looked so majestic of him up in space. And then when we see him after he gets stabbed with the kryptonite and him falling, I mean, that looks so good to me.
Yeah, it didn't look like a cheap. It didn't look like they had a budget, like a lot of times it does on CW. So, but I thought it was all good. And we've kind of given the episode away. The last spoiler. Do we kind of want to talk about it?
Hell yes, we do.
Okay. So, Michael, tell me what this is.
Okay, so during this fight with this being in this armor suit that looks very Metroid,
and he's talking about his planet.
Yeah, like he has the exact same origin as Superman does. He's the only one left from his planet, and he's basically there to battle Superman and show that he's not a hero. Do you have any thoughts, Jordan, before I do this reveal?
I didn't get what was going on. So
okay, so at the very end, he's in a suit and he takes off his helmet, and we see the back of his scalp, and he's talking to his AI. He's in a ship in the Antarctica, it looks like, and she's saying that she needs to do upgrades to his armor, and she calls him Captain Luthor. So, or everyone's speculating like, oh, like, who is this guy? Because we already have John Cryer as Lex Luthor in this world. So who is this guy? Immediately, I went to the Silver Age, because I was explaining this all to my wife, Christy, about the planet Lexor, that in Silver continuity, there's a nice callback, Lex found, like, I forget the origin, but the gist is that he found, I remember. Lex Luthor wants a fair fight with Superman, so they go to a planet that has a red sun, so he doesn't have powers there. And they find that it's actually inhabited, and it ends up becoming a reverse story where Lex becomes the hero of this world, and they rename the planet Lexor, and he's the ruler, he's the hero. And in every interaction that they have, Superman's always made to look like the bad guy, and Lex is the hero. Well, in the final battle on this planet, it's going to basically deteriorate and explode just like Krypton. So he embeds the planet with this needle that, like, down to the core, that keeps it stable. Well, of course, with one of these fights with Superman, that's damaged and it explodes, but he, of course, blamed Superman as the reason why, this planet was that he was the ruler of. And I mean, there's different versions and stories. So this is where I'm thinking that this Black Lex Luthor is actually from the multiverse, from a different Earth 3. And, he's from that world where Superman, he believes, destroyed his planet. That's where I'm going with it.
I didn't know. I didn't have a theory, so I'll just say, okay.
And I just read an article the other day. They were talking about Lex Luthor being black, And, was he black in the animated show that was on, like the Justice League and the Superman cartoons? Because if you look at his complexion, it's darker. Mm-hmm. And, they were talking about like the features on his face and stuff. Like he looked more like a black character. So they were asking, like, was he always portrayed as a black character on here? And it was just never called out.
The Bruce Timm verse.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Superman and Lois, guys.
I only had I loved it so much, and I'm gonna quit talking because I could go on and on about this. But the only thing I did not like was the muscle suits of the costume, because when he was in the Supergirl guest stars, he didn't have a fake muscle suit underneath. He looked fine in that.
Yeah.
He didn't have to, that's more Christopher Reeves, but for some reason in this one, they decided that he needed to look more bulked up. So obviously he's wearing fake muscles in both versions of the costume.
And all that super stubble, I like a clean shaven Superman.
I said that too. I was like, evidently he hasn't figured out how he shaves yet with the piece of lead. And
now we know you like Henry Cavill's chest hair, but we don't like excess stubble.
Well, see, I even had something to say about that. I told my wife, I said his collar is too high on his neck.
It did look kind of funny in places, yeah. Because
the way the cape flows behind them, it's very off-putting because it's pushed up too high on the shoulders. Where if you look at the version on Supergirl, it's cut across his collarbone and goes up. Where that's how it should be. But
how was the piping? Here's something we've not talked about in more than a year. Superhero costume.
Are you referring to what happened on the Red Sun planet where they had the kids?
I did like that in the homemade version of the Superman costume. You could see up close that it was threads, and then when they show the regular version of it, it's got more of a design to it, more closer to the Kryptonian version on Man of Steel, Henry Cavill version.
All right, so it was great. We enjoyed it. We think there's lots of potential there, and we hope it stays as strong. Another bit of CW news: there is no Arrowverse crossover scheduled for 2021. That was announced a while back, just due to COVID restrictions and. It would be impossible to move cast members from one production to another. So, and the scheduling, if one production got shut down for a while, the scheduling would be off forever. So, the fan, we kind of blew it up with Crisis last year and had the biggest one we ever had. So, I think taking a year off won't hurt anything. And the only other superhero shows to debut so far is Batwoman Season 2. Which we know Ruby Rose left the starring role. And I remember us talking, we figured the ratings would be really high when it came back because people would want to know what happened. But apparently the ratings have had a really dramatic decline. The first season premiere had 1.8 million viewers, and by the final episode it was down to 740,000. So that's a pretty obvious, when a show first premieres, it's way up, and then it drops a little bit. But the season 2 premiered at 659,000, which was below the worst season 1 did. And then episode 2 lost another 40,000 viewers. And a few people tuned in to see what happened, but it didn't gain anyone for sure. But Ruby Rose is gone. There's a plane crash, and they just find her suit. They don't find her. So they left it open of, is she dead, or, can she come back at some point? So this new character, Ryan Wilder, a homeless woman, finds the suit. And just through, necessity, ends up putting it on and meeting.
Hey, you find a suit, you put it on.
Right.
Haven't you guys seen the Santa Claus?
Right. The show is kind of.
I happen to know that
the Bata Claus.
Jordan has seen the Santa Claus.
Man, the callbacks, the nostalgia tonight, we're calling back way into the archive. So, yeah, but the problem with this show is every character, every plot line is revolved around Ruby Rose. Her dad runs the Crows, who are like the police force. Her sister is Alice, the main villain. Her ex-girlfriend works at the police force. Like, everything going on is about her. So you just shoehorn in a new character, no matter how interesting she is, she has no ties to anything going on. So they worked it into when she was young, she was adopted by this mom, and Alice's gang killed her adopted mom. So that's some way to she wants revenge on Alice. So there's just the tiniest way to kind of start tying her into what in the world is going on.
You cannot be a Bat character without having a death in the family.
Well, yeah, it's like Superman. You got to have that tragedy. But the first episode, it had a pretty good scene. As she's a homeless person, she's going to see her social worker. So it was a lot like that scene in The Joker, of like, I'm just a number to you. I don't matter to you. Like, the city is just, they had a good scene talking about, the unseen population of Gotham who no one's looking out for. But there's been 4 or 5 episodes. I think I'm caught up on it, and it's like, it hasn't really reached those heights since, and it's just sort of treading ground. So once all these other, Flash is coming back, and Legends will be back this fall or this spring. So if there's more than that to watch, I'm probably going to drop it. It's just not held my attention. The actress, Javicia Leslie, she's fine as the character. It's just, I'm just not interested in the plot, and it's just not, there's nothing about it has really hooked me to keep watching. So
yeah, the Flash will be back next Tuesday, and he beefed up this season.
How's that suit looking?
Yeah, that's the piping.
I think it's looking mighty tight.
What shade of red are we in?
Tight piping.
The red is redder.
Now, I saw on Instagram he was talking about it seems like all these actors have anxiety problems, which, I mean, doesn't surprise me in the spotlight. And he was talking about that, and he put it to good use this time off, and he's packed on probably a good 20 pounds of muscle.
Okay, well, speaking of characters that were adopted, segue, guys, Punky Brewster is back on the Peacock.
Nice shoes. I remember that girl.
I have 2 different feet. Why should I wear 2 different shoes?
Still works. Newly single, professional photographer. Used to be fun. I'm still fun.
Here comes the dance.
Can't stop. Won't stop. Okay, I'll stop.
Raising 3 kids on my own, I'm barely keeping it together. It's time for me to focus on myself and my needs.
Ooh, check you out.
I am not ready to date again. Your father and I just broke up.
A fireman? Holy macanoli.
There's a little girl that needs a place to stay while Cherry finds her a home.
Is the coast clear?
You must be Izzy.
But we all have to agree.
No.
Absolutely not.
Okay, here's the thing. We're doing it.
Morning, babe.
Wait, what just happened? You're not supposed to be here. We're divorced. And don't call me babe.
You called me babe.
You still have a thing for him.
I want to focus on this family.
I'm making pancakes.
Jordan?
I'm kind of excited for this.
I watched the first 3.
I just like that.
Tune into Peacock.
I watched the first 3 episodes today, guys. And
is it free, or are you a subscriber?
No, it's free. I think
so. Why you gotta pay? You gotta pay for Bayside, but Punky is free.
Yeah, but you get it. The first one was free, probably for Bayside also.
Yeah, the first one, but I think you can watch the whole season for free at Punky.
Whoa!
So I watched the first 3 today, And we get the return of Soul Moon Frye and the I don't know her, Cherry Johnson. She returns as Cherry, her best friend.
Really?
Yes.
Jeez.
And she now we pick it up. She's still living in Henry's apartment. Of course, he's passed on in real life.
What was her dog's name?
Brandon. Her current dog's name is Brandy. And she is recently divorced from Freddie Prinze Jr. And they have a daughter, two adopted sons, and we get introduced to a new character who is very Pilot Punky like, named Izzy. Izzy is a little girl who has been abandoned by her mother and is hanging out down at the Finster Hall, guys. Remember Finster Hall, where the place Punky kept escaping and running away from? And because Cherry runs that now, and that's kind of who the story, the pilot revolves around, is Izzy and what's going to happen to her. And it's very 80s, 1980s sitcom-y. I enjoyed it in a good way. They could lay off the laugh track a little bit, but she does a good job. It just feels like Punky Brewster. Like, it's very believable. I thought the acting was going to be cruddy, especially after watching the first episode of Bayside, the reboot. I thought this doesn't stand a chance, but I found myself quickly into episode 3, enjoying the whole storyline. It's just a fun family sitcom, watch with your kids type of thing, and it's very updated. In a way that one of the younger boy that is adopted, they don't make it's not a storyline thus far. They don't make a big deal about it, but he is very he has longer hair. He cares about, he's a little OCD, cares about his appearance. And just as a throwaway line, at one point, she's like, "What's up with your eyes?" He's like, "Oh, it's eyeliner. I'm trying it out." In another scene, he's in his sister's room and he's painting his fingernails, and just, as it kind of gives a little line about like kids making fun of him. They don't understand why he does it, and he's just like, "I just like it." And then in that same episode, Punky kind of tells her ex-husband, who for some reason still hangs around because it's television, that he has been experimenting. But they're cool with it. They don't make a big deal about it. They don't reject it. So some more modern storytelling. Punky, we've joked in the past about it was a lot of very special episodes, and they dealt with some serious natured stuff back then, and I think they're just going to continue doing that. So I liked it.
Release the Alf reboot. Hashtag release the Alf reboot. That's what I want.
Now, did they make any reference to, what was his name, Gizmo or something like that from the cartoon show?
No.
Oh my gosh,
no.
Yeah.
But
that's what they're doing. Yeah.
But do you guys remember Punky's Treehouse? It's still there, where they used to hang out. So it was cute.
I don't remember enough of. I mean, I watched some Punky Brewster back in the day. I'm sure I had a crush on her as a kid.
I was going to say, yeah, that was probably my first crush.
But I don't remember any details. I can picture the apartment.
You can actually go on Peacock and you can stream the original series. I went back and watched the pilot maybe like 3 weeks ago. Made my kids watch it just to kind of torture them one night. And so it was a little bit, some of it was still kind of fresh in my head. She makes a reference in this new show about her first kiss being at camp whatever. Do you guys remember the episode when they went to camp? No. Okay. Well,
it's been a minute.
Yeah. Anyways, Punky's back and she's full of punky power.
Okay, I want to say something about this show. I sent you guys a message asking if you had seen The Expanse. I don't know if we've ever brought it up before. I tried to watch it. It was a book series, very popular science fiction book series, set in the future, and they made it into a show. I don't know what it was on originally. It got canceled after a few seasons. Maybe
was it on sci-fi, maybe?
It might have been. I honestly don't know. But then Prime picked it up and they made another season or two so far. But anyway, it became a huge one of those where people were like voting or whatever, trying to bring it back, probably some hashtags and stuff going around. I had never heard of it until Green Ronin, that RPG company that makes some games I play, bought the rights to the book series. Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, it looks like it was on Sci-Fi Network for the first 3 seasons, and then Prime 4 through 6.
Yeah. Okay. So they came out with an RPG of it that I bought, and we played some of that at Gen Con and stuff. But I tried watching the show because everybody was raving about it, and fought to bring it back.
Yeah, it's a big cult hit. I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and the people who like it really, really love it, who are really into it.
Yeah. Well, I tried watching the first season and 2 or 3 times and could not make it through it. It just felt like a mishmash of storylines, very, 3 or 4 different groups of people doing different things that almost seemed unrelated the whole season as I was going. I think I watched like 7 episodes by the time I was done and then just quit. Could not get into it. And then somebody mentioned that, you're almost there. If you just go a little further, get a little ways into the second season, you'll be hooked. And I am. They were correct. Like the basic story is it's far in the future. That we've settled Mars. There is people on Earth, people on Mars, and the Belters, basically the in-between, the people that live in space on space stations and asteroids and things like that. And just the politics involved. There's a crew they have their spaceship and they're doing missions, and that's who your core group is. In the first season, you're seeing them. You're following Thomas Jane. That's his name, right? The Punisher. He is a detective in the belt, and an ex-cop or whatever, and he's trying to find this girl, and you're not really sure what's going on with that. He's getting clues that mean nothing to you. Then you're watching the politics of this one actress. I can't remember her name, but she's really great. She's on Earth, and she's, kind of shady. You don't know whether she's good or bad or just, a mix of both. And there's stuff going on Mars. And it's all Chad Johnson, who was on Walking Dead. I think he played, was it Tyrese or what was his name? Yeah. He's really good on this show. And there's seems to be like a group called the OPA, which are basically like a rebellion type thing. Some consider them terrorists, but he's kind of involved with them. Just a lot of space politics, but the money, all the money is on the screen. Like, it looks great. It looks great. And I think their mistake was, and I'm sure it was just because they're basing it on the books, but it's so spread out and incoherent the first season, but you have to watch it because by the end of the season, all of these things come together. And as you begin the second season, it really starts paying off. all these people that you didn't know how it tied together. Now everyone's focused on the same thing, and it becomes a really great show. So if you have any interest in a space show that seems like it's not embedded in, all this history like Star Trek, or, this is a totally new thing to most people. So you kind of take ownership of it. Like I really got invested pretty quick, and it goes places that I was not expecting. I really think Michael would like it. I think anybody would like it somewhat.
I started episode 1 today after you suggested it.
I would just say give it till the first few episodes of the second season, and you will be. If you don't like it, then you're not gonna like it.
Yeah, I've heard comparisons to Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah,
that sort of like using sci-fi to tell some political stories or mystery stories.
There's some good sci-fi stuff, some great space battles that are very original. Just things that easy to follow. There's a new character introduced in the second season that people love, named Bobby Draper, and it's just like they just keep adding things that all seem to make the show better. Really good effects, and yeah, I definitely recommend giving it a shot.
NBC dropped in a couple of new sitcoms, which I'm always on the lookout for a good sitcom. So I'm always hoping to find the next great sitcom. I don't know if either of these are it, but I watched them. The Young Rock.
Every hero has an origin story, but not a full mustache at age 15. It's The Rock's true life story.
What's your name again?
Tomas. Why'd you say your name was Tomas? Because it sounds way cooler than Dwayne.
From then to now.
Things change just like that. When you dream big, the sky's the limit.
I'll have your finest tequila.
No.
Fine, I'll have a vodka martini.
No.
Young Rock, February 16th on
Dwayne Johnson show.
Yeah.
And Kenan, starring Kenan Thompson from SNL. So they aired back to back, and I didn't really care about Young Rock, and I thought I was looking forward to Kenan, and I ended up liking Rock a lot better than Kenan. So the idea of the first one, Dwayne Johnson's running for president in 2032, and he's out on the campaign trail, and he's doing an interview with Randall Park, who is playing himself. He's like the host of a news show, and he keeps. I used to be an actor. It's like, yeah, Randall, I remember. So like it's him telling his life story to Randall Park is the idea. So we get kind of 3 different eras. The one is when he's a kid, and it's during his dad's wrestling career. And the second one is him as a teenager, as a 15-year-old with a full mustache who everyone thinks he's an undercut. They think he's Johnny Depp from 21 Jump Street because he looks so much bigger than every kid in high school. And then the third era is him at college playing football in Miami. So it's him telling different stories from those 3 eras, a different kid actor playing him in each of those. But especially if you're a wrestling fan of that era, there's a lot of flashbacks. His dad, the Soul Man Rocky Johnson, was never the biggest name, but he was right along with. They have an actor playing Junkyard Dog, the Iron Sheik. The Wild Samoans are his uncles. Yeah. And there's an actor who plays Andre the Giant. And then it shows him
more of that.
It shows him in the ring with Roddy Piper and Ric Flair. So, yeah, if you're a fan of that era of wrestling, there's a lot of throwbacks and references. And
yeah, I thought it was good. But I agree, Michael. Like the most interesting part for me was like with all the old, the actors playing all the old wrestlers.
And Thomas Howell.
That was great.
What?
He's not the Soul Man.
The one thing because I had no desire to watch this show, and Christy just kind of like forced me and made my eyes stay open for it. And I actually enjoyed all of it, but I could have.
Did she Clockwork Orange you?
She did.
Wow.
Young Rock oranged me.
I could have done without The Rock. Like he just needed to do a voiceover.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing about the presidency, that was so retarded.
That's basically he's just doing a voiceover, but they had to find some reason, which I don't think they did. But
maybe it's a foreshadowing. It's gonna run for president.
But I've watched the first two, and I've it's fine. I don't know, if I'll stick around for the whole season, but it was enjoyable. He's a charming fellow, and it's been pretty funny. Then Kenan, it's basically he is a former kid actor, like he really was on Nickelodeon, really? And then he's become a talk show host, like a morning like Regis and Kathy Lee type show. And he's a single parent now. His wife passed away, so he has 2 young daughters that he's trying to raise as a single parent. His brother is Chris Redd from Saturday Night Live. He was kind of the freeloading brother who's just always in his house eating his food. And his father-in-law is Don Johnson. So his late wife's dad is now living with them to help raise the girls, and he's just kind of lounging around. It's a very good character, very funny character of like that, the baby boomer who's just kind of like, of a different era, with child rearing and that sort of thing. And Don Johnson's very good, but I don't know, it didn't have the same kind of click. There were some funny moments, a couple laughs, but it just, I don't know. I love Kenan. He can make me laugh just by making a face, or just one line of dialogue can crack me up on Saturday Night Live with him, but just didn't. Again,
what's up with that?
Now, see, this was the one that Christy didn't want to watch, and I forced her to watch it. And because I hate Kenan on SNL. Like, I think he is the weakest link on that show.
Wow,
I've never been a huge fan either.
You've never been more wrong in your life.
I have never liked him on that show. Like
that show would not exist if he saved that show. It's been a mess for years, but he is the only thing holding it together.
I feel like he's been on that show forever, and like if you asked me like off the top of my head, like, hey, give me some Kenan Thompson characters, and I'd just be like, I have no idea.
Whatever.
He's in every sketch.
What's his name?
Oh, Willie.
Uncle Willie, yeah. Oh, Willie. That's my favorite. That's my favorite.
None of it ever.
You know what they say, Willie?
I could watch Willie like all the time.
But that's what I love about him is he doesn't have to be a character. He can just be a guy in a skit that's dying, and he'll go, "What are you talking about?" And he'll make some face, and it'll just make me laugh. And it's like, yeah.
If you say so. But I actually liked this one. I thought it showed that he could actually act and show some emotion, because he is going through. He's distraught from his wife passing away, and
there's some serious moments. Yeah. Although I thought it really missed an opportunity. I think Chris Redd is funny too, but why they didn't cast Kel Mitchell as his brother, I'll never understand. Like, they could have reunite Kenan and Kel on screen. Forget Punky Brewster and Saved by the Bell. We need Kenan and Kel back.
But the best part of this show was the ending. They showed the TV show that he was an actor on, and he played like an adult kid. That, I mean, I guess he was still a kid, but he looked like an adult. And his mom actually turns out to be his wife that passed away, and there was a lot of chemistry on the set, and they're showing them she's trying to give him a kiss goodnight, and it's getting very sexual. Now that was funny.
So is he going to continue to be on Saturday Night Live also? Do we know?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Okay. Anybody got anything else interesting?
I watched that Behind the Mask on Disney Plus.
What is that? I haven't seen this.
Well, they've had several of these Marvel comic based docu-series or specials. This is about an hour long, where they find some way to... Well, I watched that whole series where they had like the 8 episodes of... I don't remember what that was called.
616?
Yeah. Which that's good.
Yeah,
it's just a bunch of bunch of behind the scenes, a lot about, making comics and talking to creators and going over the history of comics and how it's dealt with a lot of political and racial issues and things like that. And this starts out trying to talk about secret identities, what they mean, just focusing on that, and it loses the thread so quickly, and it just turns into more of the exact same thing they've been doing. It is talking about the history of comics and dealing with racial and political issues, and that is what it becomes. I don't know where they lost. I was like, what was this about? Like, it's fine. I like that stuff.
Yeah.
I like, I'm the target audience of that, but it has nothing to do with secret identities.
They could have just did a whole episode on alliteration.
Huh?
I said they could have done the whole episode on alliteration.
Yeah. They could have done more with the secret identity stuff, but they just forgot what they were talking about. So I don't know. It's fine.
I watched Jexi.
You watched what?
Jexi. Does anybody remember Jexi? That was a movie that.
A movie called something we don't know what you're saying.
Well, it got horrible reviews.
Spell that word.
I'm trying to think of the actor, but
Jexi?
Anyway, yeah,
Jexi.
Jexi.
Oh.
It was a movie that came out last year where he gets a brand new cell phone and the AI in it is corrupt, and it starts like bad mouthing him, and like she is just like,
this is that one guy that was on Modern Family.
Yes, that guy.
What guy?
Mike and Dave get married or something like that.
Yeah.
From Workaholics.
Yeah. And basically the phone like just treats him like crap, and he like tries to get a new phone, and she like goes over to that one also, and he's like, why are you doing this? And she's like, I control your bank accounts, I control everything. And he's like, how can you do this? She's like, because you accepted the terms of agreement. And I mean, it is actually like we really enjoyed it. We thought it was funny. It had some nice, enduring, like quirky parts to it, and like the actress that plays his love interest, like, I mean, I said to Christy, I said she looks like a normal woman, like he would date. They didn't get some kind of thin model to play the female lead, and I mean, it made it for a much better story. But it actually, for all the bad reviews it got, I liked it.
I like that guy.
So
what is
there's
this?
Adam Devine.
Yes. What
Alexandra Shipp as the lady, Michael Pena, and Rose Byrne as the voice of Jexi.
What was this?
And it had it was a movie.
No, what was it? Netflix, HBO?
Christy bought the DVD because it was only like $3.
Oh,
it was like a Blu-ray.
It says it's on Hulu right now.
And it had the guy from This Is Us that used to play Green Arrow. Was it
Justin Hartley?
Justin Hartley. He was on it for a little bit.
Yeah, it's got Ron Funches.
Yeah, it had a lot of bigger names in it.
Huh. I hadn't heard of it, but okay.
Well, now you have.
Yeah.
Go watch Jexi.
Well, we did it.
Jexi's Midnight Runners.
A very movie.
Very movie of its time.
All right, so that's not going to win us any awards. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy the past hour, but I don't know that it's,
I didn't know we were recording.
It's not our best. So if you're just tuning in for the first time, I swear we do better.
Some people just like to listen to people. We just like, we're talking about what we watch. Some people like to hear that. They want to hear They're like Michael when he was a kid, didn't have any friends that would talk about comics. With him.
Yeah.
Now there's somebody out there like Michael with no friends and wants to pretend that he's sitting with us talking. Like we let Michael.
Wow.
My mic been on this whole time.
Say again?
Yeah, exactly. I'll clockwork orange you, bitch.
You'll be watching Jexi. Wow. All right.
Well, hey, that was fun.
Something.
Sign us off. Count us down there.
I'm not allowed to anymore. So
yeah, Jordan's on strike.
I'm just waiting.
Jordan's like, oh, if I don't get to bring us in, I am not taking us out.
Well, I guess I'm Clockwork Orange, Michael K. Easton.
Goodbye. My name is Jordan Lowe.
Cliff Barnes.
Seth, bye forever.
Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, @gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, please sign up to be a patron through the Podbean app or our website, www.udownwithkpp.com, to receive special content and early access to some episodes. We are grateful to anyone that chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will always remain free, so please continue to like, comment, and share.